All right, there we go. Former President Donald Trump just wrapping up a momentous rally there in Butler, Pennsylvania, at the exact scene where a would-be assassin almost took his life less than 3 months ago. And welcome back to the Big Weekend Show. I'm Kennedy, along with Tammy Bruce, David Webb, and Joe Concha. Let's do this. All right, former President Donald Trump remarked on the bullet that almost took his life and the immigration chart that saved him.
Exactly 12 weeks ago this evening, on this very ground, a cold-blooded assassin aimed to silence me and to silence the greatest movement, MAGA, in the history of our country. MAGA. We love MAGA. For 16 harrowing seconds during the gunfire, time stopped as this vicious monster unleashed pure evil from his sniper's perch, not so far away. But by the hand of Providence and the grace of God, that villain did not succeed in his goal, did not come close. He did not stop our movement. He did not break out our spirit.
An extremely well-attended rally, Tammy Bruce. Tell me what we saw over the hour and a half that the president
a real kind of return to life. Many people were saying that this was like a part of a healing process, because you go back and you're able to finish what you started. But it's, I think, also a representation of what Americans thought that this could be, which is when he got up after the shot on July 13th and said, fight, fight, fight. It was a message to just never give up, continue on. This is the perfect symbolic, dynamic of doing exactly that. The crowd obviously was gigantic. Perhaps the safest place in the world was Butler, Pennsylvania. So I think that this was not just to take it back and to say we did fight and we are fighting, but also a reminder of what's transpired in these last 3 months. My God, in the midst of the horrible situation with the hurricane, the dynamic with a second assassination attempt, what the American people going back and forth with polls, not knowing what's really going on. I mean, this is a real turning point for the country and this kind of an event. And with Elon Musk participating, a huge difference, of a reminder about how wide this tent is and who's involved now. So it was very exciting, and I think part of a healing process, but part of another stage of never giving up.
Yeah. And it's really important that you point that out. This is a healing process for Pennsylvania specifically and the country at large. But David, you know the former president. I mean, there have to be nerves involved here. He's still a human being. How did he and his team overcome that? Because he had been saying for quite some time that he was going to go back to Butler and have an even bigger rally. But tell me about the nerves. Tell me about the personal aspect here.
Well, I mean, fortunately, he has a really strong family around him. And that's a big part of this. Donald Trump's a fighter. If you go back through his entire history, business or otherwise, he's the guy who fights back, who stands up. And he has demonstrated that long before politics. Family is important to him. He really believes in this. He really believes in the vision for America that is for Americans. And the healing moment, I think you make a very good point, is about America. We need to see that we're still in the fight for this country, not just for an individual or a political party, but really for the country. And I can tell you that, perspectives matter here. Michael Reagan and I have talked about the perspectives after they attempted to assassinate his father, the effect it had on Ronald Reagan, that he never missed church after he left the White House, that Donald Trump has talked about faith a little bit more, which is also important. And it's not just faith in America, it's faith in ourselves that we can actually step out there, fight, and win something that's good for everybody. Yeah. He's not talking, when you hear him there, he's not just talking about Republicans. He's talking about America.
And he said that right off the bat. He made a point of saying this movement, it's not just for conservatives. It doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal where you stand. If you don't have a label, this country, this movement is for you. But, David touched on something very important, and that was the attempted assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan, President Reagan. And, he has gone on to be arguably the most popular president of the modern era. And every Republican who runs for president, always cites Reagan and tries to be the next Reagan. We don't know how different the story would have been if Lincoln or JFK had survived their assassinations. But the fact that this president has survived, he goes back to that very spot. I mean, when we say momentous, it really, truly is. The courage that it takes in such short order to go back there and speak to Corey Competori's family and, the people of Butler and the people in Pennsylvania. So obviously all the networks are covering this, right? Because this is a huge event.
CNN and MSNBC at the beginning of this speech did cover this. I didn't know about the broadcast networks, but when you tuned in a bit later, they both broke away at that point. This is one of the biggest moments of this campaign, quite frankly. The debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, that was a huge moment because that ended Joe Biden running for president again. This could be very well outside of maybe the second debate, maybe the J.D. Vance debate, a huge moment. And I love the way he started the speech. First 4 words, as I was saying.
Yeah.
In other words, just picking up right where he left off. NBC News reporter said this is the largest crowd that he has ever seen at a rally. So that speaks volumes here at this point. A couple of notes here, Kennedy. Glass enclosure here for Donald Trump. That should have absolutely been there in the first place, and not one person has been fired from the Secret Service. Isn't that incredible? After 2 assassinations attempts, still no accountability whatsoever.
And we're going to get into that later in the show because, we've taken a little bit of a deeper dive in media about what has happened, the postmortem on July 13th, and why haven't people been fired?
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.